Hello yet again. It's Damon's List with another Rebooking SummerSlam scenario, and this time it'll be SummerSlam 1990. Back in the day, I used to, since I started watching 1993 wrestling, I would basically watch SummerSlam backwards. Meaning, the first SummerSlam I rented was 1991, then afterwards 1992, but afterwards, the other ones I would watch would be 1990, 1989, and then 1988. 1990 was the last one I actually watched because it was basically when it was a video store, it was always rented out for some reason. You kids don't know what it's like to be in a video store. Now, like basically now you can have WWE Network or Peacock or whatever. You can watch anytime you want, or better yet, WWE Vault on YouTube. Wink, wink. But back in the day, you actually had to rent it, and it was often picked. Now, I know in this case what I would try to book, and I would start off SummerSlam 990 with The Rock versus Powers and Glory, Hercules and Paul Roma. Now, I know in real life, basically, Shawn Michaels is spending most of the time, basically, for that match. Basically, his character was assaulted on the outside, so pretty much was an handicap match of Marty Jannetty versus Power and Glory. I would have Shane Douglas, who was hinted as the third rocker, come out and take the place of Shawn Michaels that case. Be Shane Douglas and Marty Jannetty versus Powers and Glory. But alas, despite all this, same result as in real life, you have Power and Glory win after their awesome Powerplex finisher. Then you would have Tito Santana versus Rick Martel. And I'm still amazed I never really had a match. To me, it's a continuation of my booking because I said at some I would have added at WrestleMania 6. And you have this continuation of that feud. And I would have Rick Martel win again, and this time with nefarious means. Basically, last time I think I made it at WrestleMania 6, he would have won with a slingshot splash with basically the feet in the ropes. This time we'll just basically use the tights on a roll up to win against Tito Santana. Tito will get his heat afterwards by beating up Martel after 11 minutes of actions. Then for the Intercontinental title, you would have Mr. Perfect against Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornado. Again, like in real life, it didn't need to be like what's going to be next year with Brett and Perfect. 5 6 minutes was all he needed to be. And Perfect was overconfident. He wasn't squashed like Honky Tonk Man because he was a superior athlete, but he still got outclassed and maybe got beaten by a guy that he could usually beat if he took it seriously. So I thought it was a good story there to have Texas Tornado win the ICE title there. Then the fourth match of the night, we would have Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire versus Macho King, Randy Savage, Sherry, which was originally the WrestleMania 6 match. I would have it here. And Dusty Rhodes would come out first. Then you had then they play Dusty Rhodes' theme song again for Sapphire to come out. She wouldn't come out. They would try 3 times for her to come out, and then be basically puzzled. And it's like, okay, what happened in the match? So basically, Macho King attacks Dusty Rhodes from behind, and Dusty Rhodes basically becomes a match between an handicap match with Dusty Rhodes against Savage and Sherry, which is why basically I made sure that there wouldn't be 2 handicap matches on the same card. And via interference, basically, even the fact that there's interference, Rhodes seems to be on the comeback trail, and he seems to be on his way to victory when suddenly Ted DiBiase's theme song hits, and Ted DiBiase comes out with Virgil, and eventually comes out with Sapphire. And that distracts not only Rhodes, but also the referee, which leads to Macho King hitting Dusty Rhodes with a scepter, and then hitting the top rope elbow for the 1 2 3. Then, after this disgusting display, basically of somebody turning away, you would need, like basically, you would need something to, even it out. So to not feel as bad. So you have this, Axel Jim Duggan and Nikolai Volkov defeat the Orient Express. Then, I would have Big Boss Man versus the Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase. This is a match that basically never had a resolution. It was a feud that started soon after WrestleMania 6, but never had a resolution. You could have basically, in this case, Ted DiBiase is a Big Boss Man. And again, back in the day, top heels didn't job that often. I would have this match, and Big Boss Man just turned face, so I can't have him fail. It's one of the few times where I felt like a double count out would have been perfect as an ending. You have double count between Big Boss Man and Ted DiBiase and after the match, you could have basically Virgil and Ted DiBiase attack Big Boss Man, and maybe Akeem comes back for one night only to ambush Big Boss Man. But out of nowhere, Dusty Rhodes comes out and basically batters Ted DiBiase and helps the Big Boss Man, his former rival. Then you have Barbarian versus Jimmy Snuka. Again, Barbarian beats Jimmy Snuka because screw him. I would have even be 5 minutes. So yeah. Uh, you have Jake the Snake Roberts as the Warlord because I know Jake Roberts had a match with Bad News Brown, but Bad News Brown's on his way out of the BB, and I want Jake Roberts to actually have a win on pay-per-view. So Warlord tries for the running power slam. Last minute, Jake ducks out DDT 1, 2, 3. Then you would have. I know there's not much. You would have for the World Tag Team titles, 2 out of 3 falls. You have Demolition against Art Foundation. I keep exactly the same thing. The Art Foundation win the tag team titles there, here and there. Then you would have Honky Tonk Man and Greg Valentine versus Bushwhackers. Rhythm and Blues win. Then in the penultimate match, the first of the 2 main events, you have Hulk Hogan, and I was gonna say it was gonna be a tag match, but I realized I had so many tag matches on that card. So I had Hulk Hogan with Tugboat in his corner against Earthquake and Dino Bravo. It would start off as a singles match, but I would have it basically so chaotic that basically it's restart as a tag team match with Hogan and Tugboat versus Dino Bravo and Earthquake. Why? Earthquake's not gonna get pinned. He's not gonna be beaten up. In fact, he's gonna doing the beating up because outside of the ring, Earthquake and Tugboat, the future Typhoon, would brought it out, whereas Hogan ends up pinning Dino Bravo for the cover. 1, 2, 3 with a leg drop eventually. And the BB title main event, you have, as in real life, you would have the Ultimate Warrior defending against Ravishing Recruit. Now, is it a cage match or not? I don't know, but it's still the result is Ultimate Warrior beating uh, Ravishing Recruit. And it's something that basically Savage is going to be the next contender because you see him before the night is over, you see him watching on a monitor the match from backstage. So that'd be basically my SummerSlam 990 to be booked. So I'm going to do 2 more today because my 2 favorite SummerSlams are upcoming. See you guys.